Hey everybody, welcome to Agma yet again. Here I am. It's quarantine time still, so we're having a good time. Lots of schoolwork. I am dying inside, but it's okay because I'm working on my final presentations for both pḥ.ð.m and AutoJune. Yeah, I already did my defense. I don't know the grade I got on it yet, but I'll be finding that out soon because the final submission date is coming up this week. So I'm going to do some last final tweaks. I might record me doing those final tweaks as per what the professor suggested at the end. And then that'll be it, and then I should find out, and then good times ahead. For now, I'm working on my pḥ.ð.m presentation, and I need to make a map. I specifically need to make a map that pertains to the history of both pḥ.ð.m and AutoJune, because they take place in the same universe in this alternate future version of North America. I need to create a map that shows basically the language families at their full heights. I've had all the nations, and then every other miscellaneous smaller nation has been in one of the colors, other Cerncahelan speaking tribes and nations, other Pernth speaking tribes and nations, but it doesn't really explain what language family those actual countries are all speaking and what various language and potential language family differences that there might be within those regions. So the world building has already been made. I know what's going on. So I just need to make this map. Just as a quick summary, the first language family of the dog people or whatever in this history were part of the Qrnql family, spelled Qrnql. They kind of formed around the Rocky Mountains, and then they spread around just various Stone Age tier tribes and stuff, probably 20,000 BR. And then after that there was the Pernth languages that came about in the Great Lake region around 14,000 AR, 14,000 BR, and they expanded basically across most of the continent. And then eventually the Cerncahelan languages came and took them over around 6,000 BR, and that base proto-language, the Cerncahelans, became AutoJune. But Proto-Pernth eventually leads to pḥ.ð.m. Around 10,000 BR, long before any of the civilizations of the Elfwant-Kassanosha era, there was a Bronze Age tier set of civilizations across the northern and eastern portions of the North American continent, and they are all speakers of Pernth branches of languages, including the proto-language around Nunavut, Canada today, that would eventually become pḥ.ð.m. Gradually, various events like climate-related events and other unknown factors in quotation marks led to that civilization era falling apart, kind of like a Sea Peoples at the end of the actual Bronze Age type of situation. But the region where pḥ.ð.m is spoken, which is in pḥ.ð.m, it's Fufrath, or in what do they call it in? Yeah, so, or Fifth Goth is the easiest way to say it in English, or Fitukatun in AutoJune. Those areas, the area of Fufrath stayed intact, relatively intact, but it still had a significant decline, and after thousands of years, its language developed a lot and changed drastically from any of the other Pernth-speaking languages. And then eventually, the Cerncahelans came in and took over almost everything. And this change forced a lot of this change forced a lot of other Pernth branch-speaking people to join up in the region of Fufrath, and they were trying their best to preserve the literary and cultural traditions of ancient times, and in doing that they became known as these poet warriors kind of people, because the language is very poetic. They preserve their art styles, their writing system, and everything, and the kingdom managed to survive for a really long time. Now, the version of pḥ.ð.m that I'm working on right now is the one that was spoken between 1300 AR to 1650 AR during that era, which was around the time whenever the Princei took over Elfwant-Kassanosha. So the modern version, the version that people are speaking today in the Fuflath region, are It's different now. I haven't come up with those sound changes of what the modern version is going to look like, but I probably will eventually. So I need to make a map now showing what the languages, what specifically the Perth language family looked like first in like 14,000 BR, then in 10,000 BR, then in around like 1300, maybe 1400 AR. So I need to make those 3 maps real quick. The first one's gonna be a lot easier than the others, so we're gonna dive in. So here we have a map that I've already made for the thesis defense, and I'm just gonna have to kind of carve away at it a little bit, but we are going to be fine. And there's the there's the underlook at where all the actual modern locations are in the real world. Lower half of Michigan, that red dot, that's the main, at least theorized Uramhat of the Perth languages. You know, pink probably wasn't the right choice for that. Oh yeah, and they were definitely also like all the way out there into Russia and beyond. Okay, yeah, I was right. Alright, anyway. And then I also have a section for just other populations that existed at the time. Language families and people groups. Alright, yeah, so there's map 1. Proto-Perth-Uramhat happening over in the Great Lakes region, marked by the red dot as the center of where they think the languages originated. Then we have the Proto-Kernk languages going across the continent, including some of Elfwant-Casanosha in the Flannel Peninsula. We have the pre-Proto-Cerncahelan languages, an estimate of where the people are based on genetic evidence or archaeological evidence and whatnot, but not necessarily linguistic evidence. And then we just have other unknown population groups, which are areas that through archaeological findings have been shown to have been populated during this time, during 14,000 BR, by the human level intelligence dog people, not furries. Alright, so now we need to go on and make the second map. So then comes 10,000 BR. But you gotta keep them on them couple islands. End up getting over here, even if their range of influence may be small. Sorry, Kernkla, your timer's up. Perth people are gonna have to kind of make some breakaway tribes and do not cross into the next yeah, that looks better. This is 10,000 BR. So here we have the second map, right? So this is when the Perth go all kaboom all over the place, and they have like a nice, happy set of Perth-speaking civilizations. They take a big old dent out of all the Kernkla land and all that. 1375 AR. Populations have all completely altered. I'm going to unify the colors based on what language family they're speaking. You, all you, We're making a lot of things blue, and a lighter blue. You know why? Because that area is where pḥ.ð.m is spoken. And we're gonna boop in another key. It's happening. This is good. This is very fun. Don't forget we have this is the main pḥ.ð.m territory. Alright, yeah. I'm probably gonna make a more in-depth map too later on of like the exact languages more than just the language families. But, you know, I've gotta get going on these projects, so everything's going well. I just wanted to give you guys a brief insight as to how I make maps on things, and yeah, I mean, it was a little easier considering like I already had this world fully developed, so. But it's a map It's how I make maps, just several layers, just color in the layers, and there's the history of the pḥ.ð.m language, which also intertwines with the history of Alphonse Casanosha and all that. I do stuff, so I'm gonna get back to that, and it's gonna be a good time. Yeah, I guess until next time. Bye-bye.